pull up a pew and have a brew. We are back for another Superfan chat. I am Superfan Jeremy, and I am joined for this episode by...
Superfan Alice! Hello!
The crowd is going wild. There's some rabid superfans out there.
Oh, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Calm it down. It's too much.
So many people, they listen to the show for the superfan chats.
Oh, yeah, it's all about this.
It's just preparation for the superfan chats. What a trio of episodes.
Holy goodness me. What a lot happened. Many doors.
Yeah, so many doors. And so, like, it's so tense.
Yes.
Like, the whole thing was just like from beginning to end. The fact that they managed to stretch it out over this many episodes still, after how much build up, I feel like we've had so much build up for it. And even across all those episodes, I think it still managed to maintain the tension.
Oh my God.
For me.
Yes,
throughout.
Absolutely. There was a lot of maintaining tension happening.
Yeah. We got like some humor, we got some hijinks, we got a lot of mystery, we got big twists, we had violence, we had everything. Loved this set of episodes.
So much violence.
Yes. Some of the more graphic violence we've had in the series.
A full decapitation. Hello.
Yeah, in episode 68. Do you want to jump in then on episodes 67 and 68 and walk us through them?
I'm going to try. I'll have a break in between.
And we are actually, for the record, we're doing episodes 67, 68, and 69.
Wait.
In this episode. Let's go.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and start going down.
Okay. Oh, let's do it. So episode 67, Chargelt Hall. So we are just about to delve into Chargelt Hall. So Orin steals the watch from Guy and keeps hold of his wrist as they rush into the garden and through the gate successfully. Hooray! Yeah, it looks really pretty in there, which I'm sure is something that they spend a lot of time admiring, the gardening. And they notice the lion, and Orin picks up some gravel to chuck it back through the barrier. And this is some sort of foolproof method to work out that they can safely get back, although I don't know whether they are equivalent to gravel, so I'm not sure how scientific a test that really was. But he seemed confident.
Yeah, I mean, it works to try and, like, I guess because they were trying to set off the lion, right? They were trying to see if it would react.
Well, I think so, yeah. And fortunately, while he was doing that, Gwendolyn, like, did parkour up the line in order to stroke its left ear 3 times. Mm-hmm. And used a bit of poisoned grace, which led to some interesting semantics. She did not poison herself.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, and they walk past, and it doesn't attack them by potentially leaping off its plinth, so all appears to have gone well. Mm-hmm. So they're set off in kind of like a tour guide way, where Guy is clutching some blades of grass that they all to follow, and they find an unlocked back door. And they decide to go in, despite Enkidu shouting, "It's a trap!" Which means he's the Admiral Akbar of the episode. It opens into a ballroom.
Admiral Enkidu.
Yeah, he'd make a great admiral.
Yes, he would.
And they find out that all the curtains that freaked him out so much from the outside are actually illusions, and the windows are all open into a beautiful ballroom, which looks very much like Beauty and the Beast.
I love these twists.
What the illusion?
There's so many, like the little, the little illusory twists. Like I shout out to Baby David, because the number of like little like bits that'll be like, you thought it was this, but it's actually this. That it's like, dude, the level of planning that went into this whole, because it's like a dungeon crawl, essentially an extended dungeon crawl. Really
Did
impressive.
you ever get Nightmare in America?
Like the show?
Yeah, it was a show, and probably way before your time. But when I was a kid, there was an amazing show called Nightmare, and it was basically you enter a room, and like it's just got like a kid with a helmet, and they're basically blindfolded, and its friends can see the computer graphic version of the room, and they go, immediately in front of you there is a giant, and to your left there's certain death, and they'd always walk their friend into the death. It was great. It was a great show. But yeah, it was really
awesome.
good. And this episode reminded me a lot of that. It was like, you enter a room, there are several doors. And yeah, loved it. So they enter the ballroom, and there are several doors in front of them. 3. They decide to go to the one to the left, and they can hear music, so they back quickly off that because it's probably someone inside there. They go to the middle door instead. They don't see any people, but they see portraits of historical arcanists, and they realise that they're all the Archmagi. And they finally get a glimpse of Petrogranius, so they know what she looks like, a small blonde human. And they're in a foyer with 2 doors, with a spiral staircase going up and down, and a corridor leading off to potentially more doors. So from the divination that they've done, they know to go downstairs. So they head down, reaching the 3-minute mark. David kept sort of ticking off the time, which was really adding to that tension.
Yeah.
And they find themselves in a well-lit basement, and they find out, well, Orin finds out because he's got detect invisibility, that the reason it's lit is because of an invisible scrying orb. So Orin warns everybody to be quiet and maybe stop using magic. It's stressful. And there are 6 doors leading off the basement space, which are uniform and utilitarian and all closed. They open to find a laundry room with active laundry magic and a lot of doors. They don't open any of those. They just close the laundry right up again. And Juno looks behind, finds a storage door. They open another door and sort of find more staff bedrooms. And they find a kitchen, which is incredibly busy. Again, 0 people inside actually making it work. So it's basically Fantasia going on downstairs. They find another storeroom, and Enkidu figures that they have to go back up to go down, but Orin decides to cast Detect Magic, running both programs on his goggles, to see if there's anything hidden, and spots an abjuration spell at the base of the stairs, which means that the stairs continue down past what we can see. So that was awesome. And he casts Identify, and he finds out that they need a magical amulet for access. So the guy suggests that they go up and try the music room, so he goes there with Orin, and Gwen, Gina and Enkidu run upstairs to see if there's a bedroom anywhere that might belong to Petrogranius and might contain an amulet. So we got to this first floor with Gwen, Gina and Enkidu, and David says there are a huge number of doors on the first floor, or 5. And Gwen uses, I guess, like the ability to be a posh person to work out that the main bedroom is the 4th door down, and finds it locked. She completely fails to pick the lock. So Enkidu misty steps inside the room, which was a great moment. And he finds a reference to Dwayne Fabulosa's Further Adventures, which I really enjoyed. Yeah. That was so nice.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah. And then he lets the others in. Gwen goes inside a dressing room, and Enkidu steals some of the jewellery. And Juno acts like she's in an escape room and discovers that there, inside the wardrobe, is a clever little homeward door, which I think was one of those lovely Baby David sort of little tricks. So all of those doors inside the laundry room just lead to all the bedrooms. That was great. I love that. Although I would be disappointed if I was like trying to find Narnia and I just found a laundry room.
Yeah,
it'd be deeply upsetting.
But it's the laundry room is alive. It's a Fantasia laundry room, so it's not a complete loss.
Yeah, well, true. And then, so they head down, because there's a flight of stairs in there. They head down and find an office space. And while they're doing that, Guy and Orin head into the corridor, snaking off the foyer, which is the second half of the gallery. And they see 2 doors, so they try the nearest one to find a library that nearly takes Orin out. He really fights against everything inside him and closes the door on that.
Yeah. The tensest moment of the entire trio of episodes.
Will Orin just be lost to the library? So they try the next door, which is a conference room, and similarly lacking in anything of interest except some moving paintings. But they find another door to an office and meet the others coming down. So they are all united again. Enkidu sits at the desk and sees some arcane markings on the edge of the desk, which looks like a passcode. And Orin figures out that the documents on the shelves are sort of there, but they need to be kind of conjured from the not quite there that they are. and then tries to figure out the passcode. But while he tries to work this out, Petrogranius walks down the stairs into the room, and it all goes very tense. Everybody turns into statues apart from Juna, who immediately casts Detect Thoughts and hears "Do your best, Petra," and then casts Polymorph on the extremely obviously faceless footman, and eventually turns him into a slug. Which was great. But she does it literally at the moment that Petrogranius has walked across the ballroom and managed to open the door to the music room inside, which we don't know.
Yes.
Oh, what's it gonna be?
Oh, what's inside? That slug strategy gave me such strong like flashbacks to a home game that I ran where like the big villain of the campaign got basically there's a move. Shout out for anybody or to anybody who actually plays D&D. If you play a druid or any class that can get, I think, summon fey creatures. I think there, or maybe just summon Fae. I can't remember, but there's a spell that you can use to. Oh, I think it's conjure woodland. It's maybe conjure woodland beings, but you basically summon pixies, and pixies have the spell polymorph.
Incredible.
They have like 1 HP, but they all have polymorph. You can summon theoretically 8 pixies, and and even though the DC is only like 10, you can just have them all cast polymorph on something, and it has to make 10 straight saves. And if it fails one, it's done. And one of my players did that to the big bad of my campaign and turned him into a slug. And I was like, oh, like when she did that, it was like, oh man, oh. Yeah, so that's a very effective strategy. Of the animals that you could turn him into, one of the better ones, because it just sits there and can't do anything.
Oh, it's such a good idea. What can you do as a slug? You just mourn your new existence, really. I think that's it.
Yeah, you have no recourse.
You just hope that no one brings any salt near you.
Exactly. You just go and eat some leaves. It's your best bet. What about the level of detail in this entire building? Is really impressive, and that's a theme throughout the campaign, frankly, but also especially through these episodes. Just the fact that it's like, oh, if you go through these specific set of doors in that order, you end up in the same spot that these people are going to.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. I think David must have an incredible sort of imaginary spatial awareness, because when I'm listening to it, I can't picture it all as closely as he clearly can, because he's got such an excellent idea of where everybody is at each point. And I can't do it at all.
Yeah, I wonder if he has like a map or like a blueprint that he's drawn out.
Oh, he must do. Yeah,
like a floor plan of the building.
Yeah, and maybe he uses the figures to move them around the map so that he's able to work it out.
I could see that.
Yeah,
like, because I know that they have used maps in combats before. Like when I guested on the show, they used maps for the Chug-a-Lug. Was it the Chug-a-Lug or the Chug-along? I can't remember. Whichever boat we were on. Yeah. The reason I get it confused is because whichever one it wasn't, I made up the other one and convinced the guards to go away. So when we were on the boat, he had like a map of the boat that we were on, so that we could like especially like the part where we fought in. So that I wonder if he had something like that he had made for this and knew where all the doors, or was he doing a sneaky DM trick and he was just like, look, they've gone through enough doors, I'm gonna have it snake back around in the moment, because we wouldn't know the difference.
I don't know which I'd prefer, to be honest.
Yeah, they're both great.
Yeah, exactly. I want extensive maps, I think I've decided, actually.
Yeah, that's so much planning. And the fact that they had, like, not only just the maps being extensive, but the number of puzzles in every room and every area.
Yeah. Do you reckon if they'd looked closer, there would have been a clue to the passcode at the desk, or whether he just couldn't be bothered with them doing that, so that's why he brought Petra?
I think it was probably they would have been able to look closer, but yes, we needed to move things along, and I think introducing the faceless footman in the guise of Petra just adds that. It just ratchets up the tension.
Yeah.
You know, because by that point, it's like, okay, we've managed to avoid any detection for this long. Okay, we're in the same place. We're figuring it out. And then that gets introduced, and it's like, oh, no. Just when they start to feel like maybe they have a handle on it or they're getting a handle on it, the rug is pulled.
Yes, which is a classic Baby David move. really. Okay, so
And the other thing is...
Oh, yes.
Oh, go ahead.
No, what were you going to say?
I was going to say the other thing is, even if Juna had not read the Faceless Footman's mind, they could have just... Like, what David could have been planning was to just have the Footman figure it out themselves.
Oh, what? Figure out that they're surrounded by the invisible people?
No, but figure out the way down. Like, figure out the puzzle.
Oh,
because if you have
cool.
if you have another NPC, yeah, because it's like this is a way of getting past it. It's like the Faceless Footman comes in, is looking around, and they're just like all standing there silently as what appears to be Petrogranius looks around the room and then is like, oh, and figures something out and then does it. And they're like, oh, wait a minute, why would Petrogranius have to be figuring this out like this? I think that would be another means of doing it as well.
No, good point. Yes, absolutely. Shall I carry on?
Top-notch DMing.
Top-notch DMing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay,
so let's jump into 68.
Episode 68, Slagfest. So Juna sneaks into the music room before the Arcanist can close the door because she has been spotted by the Arcanist inside, or the door opening was spotted by the Arcanist. It's doors and getting, it's
the
confusing.
Presence of Juna.
So the Arcanist stands at the door looking over the ballroom, and it is a half-elf, and Guy reminds everyone that a half-elf cannot be charmed. So Juna looks at them a bit sort of closer to see how the amulet is fastened, and spies a large blue gem hanging from a necklace, and can easily see the clasp because the elf's head is shaved. Guy immediately forgets his own warning and suggests a sleep spell be put into the elf's food. Have one, so Juna just like pops some shambling mound on top of whatever the poor Arcanist is doing. Gwen runs over to the ballroom towards the music room, and Orin looks at the Arcanist to detect extra magic and spots a possible weapon, which indicates this is a guard, basically. And they sort of don't see anything, quotation marks, and goes back into the room and sort of performatively relaxes. And Gwen checks the door to see if the Arcanist placed an alarm, which they did, but it was a proximity detector, so can't detect them because of they're still under the influence of a bonbon.
Yeah, that was a good call though by Gwendolyn to
she's
check
good at
the
stuff
door.
like that. I mean, she's the traps.
Really good call. Yeah, good call,
traps
Grace.
person, really. So Guy sneaks into the room and organises something with Gwen where he'll try something, and Gwen gets ready to punch the Arcanist in the back of the head should whatever Guy tries not work. Guy realises that he has to make music to cast a sleep spell, so starts singing a song, and takes 15 points of damage from Clania Vet's spell, which is still on his buttock.
Right, because he cast it at 4th level.
And again,
right?
forgetting completely that he can't put a half-elf to sleep. It was brutal. I mean, bless him.
Oh. That's gotta be a top 5 Guy goof sort of moment, alongside with the 1,000-something gold.
Yeah.
Him reminding everyone, remember, half-elves can't be charmed, and then immediately attempting to put the half-elf to sleep.
It was great. Yeah.
That was amazing.
And so the half-elf obviously does not fall asleep, and fight! So Guy casts Fairy Fire. Orin tries to grab the necklace, but I think ends up just readying the action while the Arcanist gets punched by Gwen and then hit with the chromatic orb by Juna, and then they respond. The Arcanist responds by shooting a glowing blade out of their hand, which was pretty cool, actually, and they start teleporting and swinging their sword around all the different spots where they've been hit from. Before teleporting out into the ballroom, Enkidu follows them there and summons Shadow Spawn. And I don't think I was the only one shouting Dr. Facilier at Chris as he tried to remember the bad guy from Princess and the Frog.
Yes.
And then attacked the Arcanist with Hexblade Curse. The Shadow Spawn swipes at the Arcanist with a claw. And at this point, Orin kind of works out that the scrying orbs are probably telling everybody around them that maybe listen to the scrying orbs that there's probably going to be some people running in soon, and then he runs to grab the amulet and rolls a natural 1 and biffs it. So yeah,
brutal.
He has to throw up a little umbrella shield as protection, which was actually quite adorable, the little shield coming out of his tattoo. I really love that.
Yeah.
So Gwendolyn spotted the tag at the necklace and decides to focus her efforts there as well. They have a bit of a tug of war, and Gwendolyn wins and runs off in the direction of the basement. Juna joins her, and
took like 3 attacks, right, to get it?
they were fighting over that for ages. Yeah,
yeah.
And I think she did like sleight of hand, and then she just yanked it basically.
Yeah.
And then they just leave the lads to continue to deal with the Arcanist, who sets off a fireball. I nearly called her an arsonist, which is really appropriate because fire. And they all
gotta burn down the mansion.
Yes, weird choice. And they all enjoyed the fact that this was their first ever fireball. It was a real moment. Yeah, it was lovely.
Which is amazing because we have a sorcerer in the party that we have not had a fireball, and they're like what, level 8, level 9 at this point?
Yeah, she just really loves the chromatic orbs, I guess. Like she's really sticking with that. Yeah, that's what it is.
That and detect thoughts.
So the fireball damages Juna, Gwendolyn, Guy, and the Shadow Spawn, and causes Juna to lose concentration so that the slug transforms back into fake Petrogranius. The Arcanist runs over to protect her in some confusion and is sliced by Enkidu's scimitar before being decapitated by the Faceless Footman's terrifying dagger thing.
Yeah, that like expands.
Yeah, like it just split into 3 and just basically like, because it kind of popped out the other side. It was a graphic
it's like a
description.
almost.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. You stab and then it's like a hollow point or any number of things that like suddenly open up when they're in. Yeah, that's rough.
It was grim.
That's rough.
Yeah, it was a very good description.
But also awesome.
Yeah, it was cool. So Guy attempts a polymorph again, which nearly kills him and his bum. And doesn't work. So they try and have a conversation with Petra. She sort of, they claim to be on the same side and ask them not to try making them into a slug again. And they start questioning her in Gus voices, which I enjoyed, and establish that she is part of the Children of Havoc, and here to help Pellegrini, and will work with them as long as they are there for the same thing. And in that moment of trust, potentially, Enkidu chops her hand off, or at least most of her hand, so it's sort of dangling down. And then
that's horrible.
I know. And then the Shadow Spawn just kind of grapples her and drags her along. And they make their way down the stairs.
She's just bleeding all over the floor.
They're very obvious. They've really got rid of like any sort of part of that trace attempts.
Yeah. Well, once that fight happens, what clinches it is they have detectors there. Once they have stuff that can see, once they have all the scry orbs there, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Like anything you do, even opening the doors invisibly is going to be like, when they go back and watch the footage, they're going to be like, wait a minute, what's that? Like anything you move, anything you touch.
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming they know where Petrogranius is. So maybe as soon as they see her, they're sort of like hackles are raised. Potentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that in itself.
You know what would have been real nice is if somebody had like suggestion.
Oh, wouldn't it be
Can
great
you imagine if somebody had suggestion and had convinced? I don't know because I know that Guy would theoretically have access to it as a bard. I don't know if Juna has access to it as a sorcerer or if Enkidu has access to it as a warlock. But wouldn't it be amazing if they had like cast a suggestion and convinced the Faceless Footman to just do what they wanted and like basically and walk them through? So they're just invisibly following the Faceless Footman who's trying to avoid all of the different obstacles as quickly as possible.
That would have been great. Yeah, that would have really saved them, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Or Gaius. I don't know if I can't remember if they're level 9 yet, but if they're level 9, then they would potentially have access to the Gaius spell, which is even stronger. Anyway, this is not me criticizing them. This is me thinking like, alternate things. But like, you would think that what they did would work, except for the scrying orbs, which render everything like that kind of just kind of wins.
Yeah. Well, what they did have was the ring that got chopped off Gaius's finger, so. That was the main sort of, but I don't know whether they would have thought about it with the panic and everything. They just and Enkidu got there first and chopped her hand off. So unfortunate, really.
Yeah.
So the last tiny bit of the episode was that they made their way down the stairs, and the amulet automatically opened the flight of stairs, and they could see hundreds of feet descend below them, and that's where the episode ended.
Yeah, and that's where we jump into episode 69.
It's an obligatory
so yes
way, I think.
69, Episode 69 starts inexplicably with a series of jokes about the number of episodes we've made thus far. Can't imagine why. The party begins to go lower and lower, penetrating deeper and deeper into this hole that they have entered, and they start to see some doors. They see some, I think, 3 doors on this level, none of which have keyholes, but all of them seem unlocked. The middle door is the first one that is opened, and Kidu goes in. He leaves the shadow spawn outside with the faceless footman, and this appears to be some kind of like arcane setup, like with a bunch of circles and contraptions that allow you to imprison someone in the center circle. It's like, oh, okay, all right. And simultaneously, Juna goes into door on the right, and sees the same exact kind of contraption. And both rooms empty other than that, but then the center room, Gwendolyn goes in and sees the same kind of contraption, same kind of setup with the rings and the circles, and sees Pellegrini suspended in that circle contraption. We have circles inside of circles, rings inside of rings. Upon further investigation, Oren realizes that you could use these to torture the person inside of the circle, and realizing that as a horrific fact, decides not to tell anyone, especially Enkidu. Pellegrini has clearly been tortured already. Juna jumps in with her classic spells, Zone of Truth and Detect Thoughts. She's on it. Pellegrini, though, resists her probing deeper right off the bat. She asks him, where's the henge key and what does it do? And I have to take my currently non-existent hat off to Baby David for his description of her listening to a person talking while also reading their surface thoughts. I thought that was excellent and very evocative and very cool. And he's basically just trying to dodge her questions. She gets a little bit of a memory. She gets memories of him putting the henge key into a chest and teleporting that chest away. But he's basically just being a slippery little snake and attempts to confound her as she continues trying to push deeper with more floods of memories and more specific memories, including memories of his torture. I was surprised. I don't know about you, but I was really surprised at how composed he was.
Yeah, I feel like he was like that the last time they met him, though. I mean, obviously he really had the upper hand with that one, but yeah, it does seem to be his thing, which is interesting for a child of Havoc.
Yeah, he's unflappable.
Really is. Yeah,
even in the face of torture and what could be mind games.
Yeah.
Because who knows? What if these are like mind techniques, like to break him, that the Arcanists are using to like pretend to be people that he recognizes that want to help him. It's like a Ramsay Bolton Game of Thrones sort of thing where you're just like, they're trying to trick you into trusting them, which he refuses to fall for right off the bat.
I do think he is the brains of the operation, potentially.
Yeah, he's a smart dude. He implies he has other options, which may or may not have included the faceless footman. Juna tries to push deeper again. Now, this is an interesting one, and actually, I'm going to quickly look this up, because every time Juna, it seemed as though every time Juna was trying to push deeper with Detect Thoughts, that she was having to recast the spell. Mm-hmm. Every time she fails, the spell automatically ends. Or rather, every time he succeeds on the save, the spell automatically ends. So she has to just keep recasting. So she casts it a second time. He resists again. He does, though, mention that he's very curious about what is happening deeper into the building. And while this is all happening, we keep jumping back over to Guy. And by the way, the time ticking is happening in the background of this. At this point, they know that going upstairs is like going to be, it's going to be rough trying to get out of here. They have minutes left, if not seconds left, on their non-detection abilities. They're going to potentially run out of invisibility even if they try to leave, they realize. Like, even if they were to try to leave now, they might actually run out of invisibility in that time. Gaius is running deeper down the stairs. He finds a floor with only one door, also with no keyhole. He opens it. He sees all these alcoves with bell jars containing busts of people. And he's like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And then there's a plinth at the far end. It's like, okay. He continues another floor down. He finds another room. This one is lit by lanterns. It has a bunch of obelisks in it, in the middle of the room, with a table and a bell jar. And before that, I should mention that I believe the plinth at the far end strongly resembles the messaging mirrors that they saw in Krawl's tower all that time ago. So an interesting connection there. What? Well,
I was just going to say, I called it. I said it last recap episode. I said it would be there, and it was, and I felt so smug.
What gave it away for you? Like, what made you predict that?
I just thought, this has to be one of the people that was part of that original little group. So where else would it be, especially if they need to sort of go into the basement? And I just thought it's going to be there, and it was. And yes, I felt great about myself. I always thought I was terrible at this sort of thing, but I made an accurate prediction.
Yeah, an excellent call. An excellent call. They are like, oh man, and that's not even the biggest twist. Because right after this, Juna tries one more desperation detect thoughts, and this time Pellegrini fails the save with a 13. Poor baby David, he made he made 3 or 4 straight wisdom saves. I think even 5, because Guy kept trying to cast, was it Guy or Oren who kept trying to cast Hold Person in the previous battle, and just every time it got resisted. That's so many wisdom saves in a row that he succeeded. Like he's got a good percentage, but unfortunately the failures have included a polymorph into a slug and a pivotal detect thoughts. She finds memories of him hearing that the Hex got a hold of the key for 10,000 gold pieces, something like that. And then this location that I believe was called Bear Bog. I think that's what they called it. Bear Bog, which is like a swampy place that appears to be a location of a henge that can rise up out of the swamp. And that is the location that the henge key allows you to open. It's like this swampy henge. He doesn't really know, he's done a lot of research, and there are all these references to the henge key as both a key and a weapon in writings. So very curious. He doesn't know where the key is, though. He just knows the Children of Havoc have it somewhere. He sent it off. He doesn't know. It's just in their possession. And then we push even deeper for more information about the Children of Havoc themselves. And that's where we find that there are, aside from Pellegrini, there are 5 major figures associated with the Children of Havoc. The Faceless Footman, who at this point I'm wondering is some kind of, if they're a doppelganger or if they're some kind of souped up changeling. I feel like those are the 2 most likely options in terms of transformations.
They definitely don't seem to have their own form, do they? Because even in his imagination,
if they do have a base form,
it's like transforming constantly.
Yeah, their base form that's the thing. I just thought about it. A changeling, at least canonically in the mainstream 5th edition, a changeling, when they die, they assume their original form. And we do see the Faceless Footman die in this episode, and we don't ever see their base form, do we? Yeah, it wasn't quite clear. And maybe it was like they got teleported away before we saw clearly. But it may just be that they're like a doppelganger. Yeah. We have Dane the Archer, who we've already encountered in this is one of the major figures. We have a dwarf man, a tiefling woman with a yellowish hue, and
the dwarf is the only one we don't know, right?
Yes. Yes, we don't know anything really about the dwarf. They were trying to probe to no avail. But the revelation of those figures was immediately overshadowed by the revelation that Heron Ilwyn is one of the 5 major figures of the Children of Havoc. And let me tell you, my reaction was immediately, oh man! Who is that again? It was very clearly a huge twist that I could not remember who Heron Ilwyn is. For anyone who fell into the same trap as me and has forgotten specifically who Heron Ilwyn is, can you please explain, Alice, who Heron Ilwyn?
Heron Ilwyn,
and why this is such a huge deal? Because it's clearly a massive deal,
a pivotal part of the plot that we've had for this entire story. So way back in episode, I want to say 11 or 12, maybe later than that, but around then, certainly the first 20 episodes, he pops up at the knocking point and gives them a mission to meet him in Vernot Rise. They meet him there, and then he gives them a mission to go around to all of the original Arcanists, so Eric de Wingthrup, I forget everybody else, but probably Chargelt actually was on the list. Were they? And
Yeah.
ooh,
Yeah.
and it would make sense.
It would make sense.
Yeah,
Chargelt
absolutely.
Hall with the
so he
yeah,
gives
the
them that
Arcanists.
mission, and that is literally what they have been doing. Apart from occasionally trying to get some spoons, which is really tragically fallen by the wayside.
Of course,
with all this actual adventure going on.
Yeah, honestly, this is really. I mean, as great as the episodes were, it's really to the detriment of the spoons arc. I think after this we're gonna need to jump right back into the spoons because I'm on the edge of my. That's gonna get cut. For clarity, Daryl, I do like the spoons arc. It's just funny to joke. They're like full on like kingdom, like massive deals, and then also as like a backdrop, like a Pokemon gym quest for spoons. It's great. It's a great juxtaposition. So immediately after this, their undetectability ends, and so does the detect thoughts spell, and it's like, oh no, we gots to go. And while Juna was doing this, Orin attempted to create a keyhole that they could use. He failed. He rolled a natural one. He still got to an 18, but he rolled a natural one and failed. So they're like, look, we gots to go. We gots to get out of here right now. And Kidu makes an executive decision and murders the faceless footman. Just walks up, slices their throat. They flash through hundreds of forms that are like, they seem to like, David was describing them as like shrinking, seemingly as they transformed, almost as if they were like de-aging or something, or wasting away.
I think they were just taking on all of the people that they had been. So there were probably bits that were younger and bits that were older, and I just got the sense that they were sort of like a tapestry of person just rolling through all the different skins.
Right. And maybe when they were younger, they used to impersonate more kids or something.
Maybe. I can imagine them still impersonating kids and like doing something awful by killing their parents, like looking like their children.
Yeah,
they messed up. No.
Yeah, the faceless footman is not okay. And they're even more not okay because now they're dead because they have a ring that was similar to Dane's and then they both vanished. So surely they're going to be resurrected, which is, again, a great strategy for the bad guys to have. You gotta love intelligent bad guys. So it's like, it's do or die time now. The party has a quick deliberation. They're like, look, we gotta flee. We really want to find out what's deep right here, but we gots to go. So when Kidu puts the shadow spawn in the lead, they run upstairs. As they're running up the stairs, Pellegrini, who has recognized Yuna's voice, points out that the party has caused as much havoc as the Children of Havoc cause, and will likely be implicated in these crimes and these situations. Which is an interesting point.
There's only so much redaction that can be gotten away with.
Exactly. It does make you wonder what, like, an independent person, say you're just one of the Arcanists, and you're not, like, deep into anything, you're just one of them, and you just hear about these people who have done all of these things and been involved in all of these massive events from even the beginning of the campaign. Like, a wealthy family gets wiped out. One thing after another. It's like, I don't know about this. I don't know about these people. And they are known to like have dealings, quote unquote, with the Children of Havoc and with the Hex and so forth. Like, I don't know. So I might be pretty suspicious. But speaking of suspicions, they reach the top of the stairs and hear a whole bunch of footsteps on the opposite side of the door. You do not want to have to fight your way out through that many Arcanists. No. So they decide to find another way out. They run back down to the room with the plinth and the bell jars, and Orin can tell with his detect magic still up that the bell jars have strong necromantic energy coming off of them, which is immediate like, oh no. And then they realize all the busts are of people that they recognize from the portraits from upstairs. No. Oh no, what? They're in some kind of a crypt. And they actually see, weirdly, Petragranius here. But you know who isn't here? Chargelt herself.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yes. And so the conclusion, the deduction that they make is that Chargelt must be using Petragranius's body right now. Her ghost must have possessed Petragranius, which is like, oh boy. Oh no. They run up and they try to talk to Petragranius' spirit, which another very creepy point is that all of the heads look at them as they run by, like they notice them and they're like, huh, interesting. I'm wondering if, Baby David, if you listen to this, I'm wondering if this is a Return to Oz reference. For anybody who's seen Return to Oz with Queen Mombi and the Hall of Heads, super creepy. Such a creepy movie. Go watch Return to Oz if you enjoy creepy kids movies.
The Wheelers, man. That was my nightmare fuel for years.
I watched that movie in my 20s and it freaked me out. I'd never seen it before. I was just watching it and, like, the Wheelers are like genuinely like disturbing, and then Mombi is like horrifying, straight up
horrific. Yes, especially the one that just starts screaming when she tries to escape. Right? That is hands down the worst moment. Just a bodiless head just
and
screaming.
Then like a headless body stumbling down the corridor as all the heads are shouting. Anyway, that's what this reminded me of. Just a more low-key version where the heads are a lot chiller this time, and there are a bunch of ghosts just watching them walk down. And they try to Enkidu tries to talk to Petrogranius's ghost. She tries to respond, but they can't hear her, so they decide, let's free her. They lift the bell jar, freeing her spirit, and convince her to come with them. They then go back down to the obelisk room, and Oren again sees tons of necromantic energy around the obelisks, and seeing that there's a bell jar on the table, he's like, this must be the place where they turn people into the ghosts, into the bell jar ghosts. So they decide to keep going even deeper for another 7 minutes. They finally reach a very cold area and a very long, dark tunnel. They're like, oh my God, what is happening? They start to run down the tunnel, and suddenly the tunnel has like a weird quality whereby a short amount of travel suddenly means you've traveled much, much further. They seem to be able to travel down the tunnel much faster than they expected. One last fun little twist for this place, being all topsy-turvy. And they reach a door at the end. Guy can hear what sounds like underwater noises on the other side. They're like, we really hope that we're not going to open this and water comes in and floods the tunnel. But what choice do we have? They use their key. They open the door and they see a massive cavern with a force field holding a lake above them. David specifically mentions a lake. So we know it's a lake, and inside of this cavern are 9 standing stones. A hen. Perhaps the Bear Bog Swampy Henge from before. Ooh. Could this be where the henge key goes? We don't know because they stopped recording at that point. The episode ended. But it's an intriguing thing to consider.
So intriguing.
Yeah. What an episode.
Episode.
As for NADPOD fans of Not Another D&D Podcast, you may be familiar with the phrase thick-sewed. And this was a thick-sewed.
It absolutely was. Yeah. Yes. So Chargout is just sucking all of the other Arcanists, all the Archmagi. She's just them.
Yeah, I guess.
Is that what we're assuming?
It seems like it. It's or that maybe they keep all of. Well, I don't know, because she can't possess them all. So maybe it's like it's like a Being John Malkovich situation where she just keeps inhabiting the body of a new person.
Yeah.
And so it's like as their bodies, because presumably their bodies would still get old and die. So they like when they die, I guess she just pops back to the bell jar and they pop her into another one. Maybe.
I assume so. She must be doing it herself, though.
Well, maybe. We don't know. Maybe she has a whole cabal of people helping her.
Maybe the 3 watching figures that are around her grave outside.
Yeah. Who knows? The deep lore and the amount of it that seems to have been planned from like dozens of episodes ago.
Yeah.
Really impressive. My understanding is that David had like built this originally for like a homebrew campaign. So he'd been working on this world, I think, for a really long time. I think.
I mean, you can feel the depths. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it totally. Is like the world feels very, I mean, it's something that we've remarked on so many times, but especially in an episode like this, really vibrant. That kind of twist is like, oh, as a fan, it makes the world feel completely different, but also even more alive.
Yeah.
Because it's like even more like, oh, these people have lives that have existed long before we met them. And there's evidence of that. And we didn't even realize that we were seeing, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's awesome.
What a trio of episodes.
Yeah, it was exciting. We had
Yeah.
like fun escape room, try and find the thing like quest. And then we had like a big fight. And then just an absolute like lore thick episode where everything just gets exploded that we thought we knew. It's so well done.
Mm-hmm. And the Faceless Footman dies. That's almost like one of the smallest parts of the episode. Like, oh yeah, they also killed the Faceless Footman. And that was kind of wild.
Yeah, this thing that's been hanging over them for months, and
exactly like that's like one of the earliest plots.
Yeah.
That's one of the earliest storylines. Is like, who is the Faceless Footman? And we never knew.
No, we just killed them.
Yeah. And I guess, yeah, technically we still don't know. We just know they're dead, at least for the time being. Did you have any favorite moments?
Oh, so many. Oh God, I think finding out about Heron Ilwind has got to be it. Like, it was proper drop my phone, what just happened storytelling. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
Completely unexpected.
Yeah, that was a big old twist.
Yeah.
That was a big twist. That might be it for me as well. That I think the entire sequence of Juna managing to engaging with him, engaging with Pellegrini, and then finally pushing deeper, I think might be my favorite bit. And like repeatedly trying to push, because I love those, like, as much as this is radio theater, essentially, it is gamified radio theater. I think what sets actual play apart as a genre from radio theater is typically the inclusion of uncertainty and game mechanics that add certain restrictions. And so you can't just say, oh, I asked them this and find this out. You have to say, I asked them this, and then we all find out if you succeed. And so when you have pivotal story moments or character moments, especially story moments, that come down to rolls, and it's like, even if it's not even an attack roll, it's like, does the person succeed on this save? Do you succeed on your persuasion check? Do you know what I mean? It's stuff like that, and you're just like, everybody's on the edge, and it's like, can we do it? And we did it. And I don't think people as big a deal as it felt, like, oh, we finally pushed through Pellegrini's defenses. We didn't realize what we were going to get. And I think that was some primo TTRPG, especially D&D type content there, where like the circumstances, the story, the plot, the DM's planning, and the dice all came together in a very effective twist reveal.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. That was real masterful. But that feels like one of those moments that, like, when the campaign is over and you're highlighting some of the biggest twists and moments, you're like, that was. Oh, do you remember that? Episode 69.
That was one.
Absolutely blew me away. Episode 69. On that note, did you have any last bits that you wanted to mention or bring up? Anything you wanted to highlight?
Oh, I don't think I do. I'm still a bit blown away by the whole what are we going to do in this henge situation. Yeah. Can they rise up from there, do you reckon? Is that how we're going to get out of this?
Presumably. I mean, the thing is, I guess it depends on how long it takes for the Arcanists to figure out where they went. Because if the Arcanists never figure out they cut the Faceless Footman's wrist, so presumably there's like a trail of blood, like just leading to the spot that they went through. So it's only going to be a matter of time before they realize, oh, they went down there, and then there's only so many places they could have gone. Like, there's only so many doors. There's just one hallway. You just go down it and follow it, and eventually you reach that door. So it's not. There's still something of a a ticking clock element. So I'm sure they're going to want to like figure out what's down there and what the purpose of the henge is and what the history of all that is. Is it related to the petals at all? I mean, henges feel kind of petally, right? It's all feels very feels like it's it's the same kind of like sort of like a pagan religion, sort of like Celtic sort of thing, where it's like, oh, there's
sevens and nines and all that sort of thing.
Henges it all makes sense. Maybe it's tied to that. Who knows? Let's find out what this henge is.
Do you reckon they've got a spare amulet somewhere just so that they can actually get through the spell upstairs, or do you think that's going to hold them up for a while?
I wonder. Well, what about a really powerful Dispel Magic spell? Like, surely those people are capable, right?
Yeah, I just wonder if like all of Chargout's secrets are down there. Maybe she's really kind of kept it quite robust.
True. Maybe there's some defense mechanism that activates if you try and brute force your way through it.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh.
The Arcanists end up bringing themselves all down.
Yeah. What if it's, if it's like a pocket dimension and it's like, oh, we're trying, you know what I mean? Like they're trying to get down there, they try to tear it open, and instead all the secrets get shunted into the astral plane or wherever.
Oh, weird. Or it all kind of like occupies like actual space and like the whole city is just overrun by all of the underneath of Chargout Hall.
Whoa.
Because it kind of pops out into actual space.
Yeah, that would be wild.
That would be cool.
They just destroy the city. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of possibilities for on the other end. Like they get back and Chargout Hall is no more. That would be amazing. That would be
kind of cool.
Yeah. I can't wait to find out what happens in episode 70.
It's going to be great.
Yeah, this is some good stuff. Some good stuff right here.
Yeah.
With that, how about we close it out?
Hey, let's do that.
Thank you so much for tuning in.
Do you have anything you want to promote?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I guess if you enjoyed hearing me talk on this, go follow me on Twitter at JeremyCobb1. It's Cobb with 2 B's and the number 1. I also have an Instagram page at the Cobbmeister on Instagram. And also I just launched a new a new sci-fi movie review podcast called The Quantum Reactor that I do with a friend of mine, Andrew Coons. So if you like sci-fi and people talking about sci-fi and fun spaceship sound effects, because the show has a lot of all of those things. So go check it out.
I like those things.
Go check out The Quantum Reactor. We've just done, as of this recording, we've released 3 episodes. We've released one on Moon. We've released one on Sunshine. And we've released one on Everything Everywhere All at Once. We got more coming up. We got ones already recorded on stuff like Terminator. We got AI. We have a follow-up episode planned for Everything Everywhere All at Once. We got all sorts of classic sci-fi things planned. We got one for Looper already recorded. So those will be coming out over the next few weeks. So go check that out. Do you have anything, Alice, that you would like to plug?
Well, I'm currently in a show called Cyanide at the Speakeasy. We're in the Collab Tavern in Elephant and Castle, and it is a fun, immersive murder mystery. So if you like to solve a murder mystery, come along. It's great.
That sounds awesome. That sounds really cool.
It's really fun.
Do you play more than one person, or is it a spoiler to say who you
No,
play?
I'm just a jazz singer.
Okay.
That's all I do.
I mean, look, singing jazz for murder mysteries, it's necessary.
Yes, I think so. You got to create the vibe.
Exactly. You are the vibe master.
That is what I'm going to call myself. Thank you.
And with that, we'll catch you next time for another exciting episode of No Small Roles Superfan Chats. You know what? We should plug the show, actually.
Join the No Small Roles Discord. Yeah. It is so much loveliness.
Yeah. And you can follow No Small Roles. Obviously, you're already listening to it on podcasting platforms, but they have social media at No Small Roles on Twitter, and I believe also on Instagram. And join the No Small Roles Discord and Patreon. Go support the show on Patreon. They have so many cool things. They have subclasses that Baby David created. They have like bonus bits and pieces. There's all sorts of fun things to do on the Discord or on the Patreon and on the Discord. Honestly, you even get access to a special part, I believe, of the Discord if you're a patron. So yeah, go. What are you waiting for? Go do it. Go now. Get out of here.
That got very Ferris Bueller. Yeah. I loved it.
Let's try another Anon for now. Let's give it a 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Anon for now. That was pretty good.
Yeah. Solid.